because all of a sudden we had people working at their dining room tables on their couches, teaching them how to properly sit. It's all in the mental health and stress reduction field. So, hey, let's take a couple deep breaths. But you're getting blood flow and you're breathing. Watches, Whoop bands, Aura rings. Go to the fitness center and get that nutrition in there. I mean, our brains work at the highest capacity right after exercise. You know, I don't even know if we can call them fitness centers anymore. The HR is like, wow, people aren't willing to give you that much time. Let's make it easy, let's bring it right to their desk. And then they would cart in platters of like really not super healthy food. And I was like, there is some sort of disconnect here. People want to get healthier, people want to take care of themselves. You don't have to necessarily incentivize. Working out in an environment like this is a complete game changer compared to, you know, some of the, back in 2013, the basements with no windows and, everyone's kind of piled in there, everyone's watching you. Well, these are all very strategically designed.
I'm sure you've heard the term that sitting is the new smoking. Dr. James A. Levine, a professor of medicine at the Mayo Clinic, coined this expression in 2014 to highlight the significant health risks associated with prolonged sitting and sedentary lifestyles. He emphasized the dangers of excessive sitting by stating sitting is more dangerous than smoking, kills more people than HIV, and is more treacherous than parachuting. We are sitting ourselves to death. Well, considering how we traditionally work, most offices are probably ashtrays. But what if the workplace could actually help us feel better? In this episode, we're exploring how movement, fitness, and human-centered wellness programs are reshaping the office, and how, with the right design and leadership, these programs can support both health and productivity. Welcome to What the F is Happening to the Office, where we dive into the seismic shifts redefining how and where we work. From hybrid work and AI to workplace design, wellness, and culture, we're unpacking how the modern work environment is evolving. Hi, I'm Bob Fox, founder of Work Design and an architect who spent years in the trenches of workplace strategy and office design. Now, I'm excited to share insights from the brilliant minds who are transforming how and where we work. So if you're wondering how the office is transforming, you're in the right place. We welcome you to join the conversation, so please like, subscribe, and comment with your thoughts. Today's guest is Brendan Herbert, Chief Operations Officer at Infinity Wellness Partners. Brendan has spent more than a decade designing wellness programs for everyone from underprivileged kids to corporate teams. He leads a team focused on delivering fitness, stretching, mental health, and ergonomic support through both live and digital formats. He's also the owner of DC Health Coaches, where his team brings communal wellness experiences from boot camps to yoga to organizations looking to make health a part of their workplace culture. Brendan, welcome. I'm looking forward to this conversation, except I'm feeling like we should be doing jumping jacks or something.
We probably should be, and maybe stick around for one of our classes afterwards. But thanks for having me.
So Brendan, let's start. Give us a little bit about your background and how you got into this business.
I actually graduated from college and to find a summer job became a personal trainer. And little did I know, 15 years later, I would be running two wellness and fitness industry or businesses. But I really enjoyed those first few years helping individuals one-on-one and changing their lives for the better. Then I ran into my business partner at grad school where I got my master's in corporate health and health promotion and met my business partner, Lance Brager, and helped him design programs for kids and after schools here in Washington, D.C. And that was one way that I thought would be able to expand my reach beyond just the individual. And then we took it one step further and started Infinity Wellness Partners. and recreated our holistic model for adults in the workspace.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about Infinity Wellness Partners and how you help people in the office and the types of services that you provide.
I'd say in the last 10 years, particularly after COVID, where everything kind of took a major halt, a major stop, not only in wellness, but just in industry. And a lot of companies had to recreate themselves. And we were from 2013 to 2020 doing traditional style wellness programs where we're implementing on-site workshops, fitness, yoga, meditation, challenges, stretching, everything on site. And workshops, most of our events were 45 to 60 minutes long. When COVID hit and we had to recreate ourselves and our business, we came up with essentially, 3 pillars to creating successful wellness programs in this new hybrid environment. So currently what we offer and our most popular services, in addition to some of the traditional on-site stuff here in DC mainly, are fast, holistic, and on-demand videos on that model that I mentioned, the fitness, nutrition, stress reduction, and ergonomics. We also still provide online yoga, fitness, meditation classes as well. And then of course, one-on-one health coaching is probably the most effective way to change health behavior. It's not always the easiest thing for a company to implement. So everything from the one-on-one to the entire organization through different strategies online.
Yeah, I think coming out of COVID, the wellness in the work environment really became a priority. And I'm sure you saw that in your business. And I'm curious, what sort of ailments, what kind of issues were you seeing with people in the work environment?
The hybrid environment changed the actual office space, right? So not only when you're at a building, but also a lot of people are now working from home. So our whole section of ergonomics took off because all of a sudden we had people working at their dining room tables, on their couches. So teaching them how to properly sit throughout the day, how to properly set up their monitor and their keyboard and their chairs. That was a huge thing after COVID, but also we had to create a whole new section of wellness breaks. And it was called brain breaks. And these are 2-minute, it's all in the mental health and stress reduction field. So everything from breathing to visualization, meditation, gratitude, things that dive a little bit deeper beyond just, hey, let's take a couple deep breaths. So I would say stress and stretching were hugely impacted by COVID.
What are the key components of wellness offerings that you see people taking most advantage of?
What really separates sort of what we do with traditional style wellness programs are what I mentioned before, in that our programs are all fast. So traditionally 45 and 60-minute wellness workshops, those are a thing of the past. People aren't willing to give you that much time during their workday, and frankly, I'm not sure, the directors in the C-suite want you to take 45 and 60 minutes away from the workday anyway. So our programs start at 1 minute for our 1-minute wellness. We have our 2-minute brain breaks, our take 5s, and then we move into max 30 minutes of people's time. So that's the most unique factor of our business. The second being that holistic model. And what the holistic model does is, instead of focusing on, 1 month focusing on nutrition and 1 month focusing on, stress reduction, focus on the entire holistic model throughout the month by offering companies shorter events, but more frequent events. And then lastly, making sure that they're on demand. So, we kind of, we live in this on-demand world, our phones at our fingertips at all times. Why would our wellness program be on a Wednesday at 12 o'clock where everyone has to find the conference room? It just doesn't make sense anymore. So having it on demand and be able to send it out during maybe a a lull in the day, maybe at 2 or 3 p.m. when people are starting to fade off. You give them some breathing exercises, you give them some stretching, and all of a sudden their blood's flowing again and they're rejuvenated. So
I'm thinking something like Peloton, where you're basically watching a video, but it's somebody that's getting you pumped up and motivated and walking you through the process.
Peloton's the perfect model, yeah. But I know that they do offer stretching, yoga, and different workouts. So they cover at least 3 out of the 4 of what we believe are the important things to cover. That's where, I think people, that's why the Peloton became so popular. Not only, in COVID when we were trying to stay healthy, but post-COVID, it also takes out the factor of sort of working out with people. You're in a class, but you're really just with with yourself or with your instructor. So it takes a little bit of that anxiety out of attending a class too.
Well, I'm thinking about the mirrors now. That you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror, but the mirror's smart enough to tell you that, hey, you need to do an extra 10 push-ups today or something.
Yeah, the technology has come a long way, and I think with the new workforce, the new generation that's coming into the workforce, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get more holistic. It's only going to get more personalized and customized. I'm sure with AI now, eventually it'll be able to look at you and say, hey, I think we need to stretch your hip flexors today, or hey, we got to work on your posture today. So I think the possibilities are endless with the technology, and we're hoping to stay on the forefront of that as well. So
can I just take a pill in the morning?
This isn't the Matrix, No, not that I know of.
I think there's an important awareness, just a simple awareness of what you're doing and how it affects your health, that I think would be a big motivator.
I don't think there's any one solution to tell a staff member that will change their lives. I think there's a couple different things that you have to do. If I had to choose one from our holistic model, I'd say everyday stretch, because during stretching, you're not only improving your posture, but you're getting blood flow and you're breathing.
I think there's a difference in generations, and the way that the boomers perceived health and fitness, and even just their knowledge of it, versus like Gen Xers today. That's a much higher priority for them. So how do you see those differences playing out?
What we've seen is traditional wellness programs are much like the boomer generation, that they're doing traditional workouts. They're going down, they're just lifting dumbbells, they're lifting barbells, they're running on the treadmill. What I think that CEOs and organizations have seen is this new generation that loves classes, loves attending classes. But the issue is classes are expensive. So if you want to do a class every day and getting a membership, it is expensive for that generation that's entering the workforce. So if you're a CEO and you want to draw in new talent with the new generation, offer these types of classes that are out there, but for your staff members or for your organizations or for the building. That's where I think the shift has occurred, and it's an easy draw for a CEO to make and to get that new generation in through sort of the new style of fitness.
I want to talk to you about the technology that you're using, but first, we're sitting in this state-of-the-art fitness center. So can you tell me a little bit about this, and what kind of role does the fitness center play in your programs?
This kind of fitness center is a huge draw for not only classes that are offered either by the building or by a business that hires us to go in there. But working out in an environment like this is a complete game changer compared to, some of the, back in 2013, the basements with no windows and, everyone's kind of piled in there, everyone's watching you. Well, these are all very strategically designed where they're sectioned off perfectly. Cardio's facing the street so that you're not looking at other people watching you do cardio. And then also just having a room that's friendly and inviting for coworkers to come work out together and frankly become vulnerable together, because that's what fitness and yoga and sweating does to people when they get together, is you feel vulnerable. Having an environment that embraces that vulnerability allows people to sort of create a new bond, not only like within a building, but within, a team, within an organization. And that's going to take the company in the right direction, we think.
Yeah, I was impressed when I walked in here. We're sitting in a lounge, and the shift in the work environment has become much more social.
Right.
So I think that you're starting to see that now enter into the fitness center.
I don't even know if we can call them fitness centers anymore. To me, particularly in something like this is more than a fitness center. This is, like you said, this is a lounge where people can talk. There's a yoga room, there's a meditation room, there's individual, mirrors that have personal trainers on them, in addition to all the traditional stuff. So it's beyond a fitness center now. It's a wellness center in so many different ways, and having it in a building is a huge attraction to not only tenants, to come lease space, but also to staff members to utilize it. And frankly, when a building hires us to just provide classes during a certain time of day for all tenants and all staff, that seems to be a major contributor to helping them lease out the building, and all of a sudden their staff members are saving money by not using a gym membership because they're coming to our classes here, and the tenants are saving money because the building provides it.
So I would imagine that's a big attraction in terms of people returning to the office.
Yeah, I couldn't put numbers on it, but I know that our classes are strategically timed to help bring people back during times they have a decision to come back, and it's supposed to be an incentive, it's supposed to be a draw.
So tell me a little bit about the technology, because as I walk through here, I see it on all the machines, the mirrors that you mentioned, and I'm sure that with the programs that you have and the hybrid work environments and remote workers, that there's a huge amount of technology that goes into what you do.
What you see in here is, I would consider a holistic model. Most of the technology, or a lot of the technology that's out there in terms of apps, watches, Whoop bands, Oura rings, a lot of it can be one-dimensional. So you're either tracking your steps, or you're tracking, maybe you're logging your calories, or maybe you're just watching your sleep. The technology that's provided in the gyms now is beyond just fitness. There's, like I said, personal trainers or yoga teachers on these mirrors that are teaching you how to breathe properly, how to stretch properly, how to work out. There's also these, those water machines, water dispensers that are attractive to staff members and tenants that are giving you sparkled water now, lightly flavored water, electrolyte water. So all of these little things that help round it out, get that nutrition in there, get the fitness, but also the breathing and the stretching as well. That's going to be the key for what we believe the key is to get people into the fitness centers.
I'm curious, for the organizations that you're involved with, do you see the physical work environment changing at all as a result of the health and wellness concerns?
In relating to what we do with businesses within a building that hire us, they will actually bring us into their floors. We're not just sort of go to the fitness center and find Infinity Wellness. We'll come to them. And I think that's been the big change recently is, we want to increase participation. Let's make it short, let's make it easy, let's bring it right to their desk. So we actually have a program where, someone walks around with a sign saying, "Do you need to stretch?" And that's one of our most popular programs. It draws an amazing amount of people. By bringing wellness professionals into different floors, from our perspective, that's how we would change it.
Well, I would imagine that you probably take a look at these spaces from the vantage point of ergonomics. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that today the ergonomics, there's a much greater awareness of it, in the work environment.
Most of the companies that we work with, we will offer ergonomic assessments. Either that or do a broad-based workshop for ergonomics early on in the wellness program. because there's a lot of simple things you can do to adjust, your height, your keyboard tray, your monitor, sit back in your chair for your lumbar support, find the right angles in your knee, hip, and shoulder, or knee, hip, and elbow. There's simple tips that they're willing to take that information, but also if a staff member wants, an adjustable desk or a standing desk or an exercise ball to sit on, we've seen that companies are much more likely to provide that kind of stuff for their staff members now that we're back in the office.
Can you describe a little bit about how AI is starting to infiltrate the fitness community?
Just like everyone else, we were a little bit hesitant to utilize AI, but when we talked to our team about it, and we basically have a database of thousands of wellness, 1, 2, and 5 minute wellness video tips on nutrition, stress, ergonomics, and stretching. They were like, well, we should create a wellness concierge program. And this was actually one of Lance and I ideas that going into this year was, let's try to create, essentially a chatbot, but the chatbot acts as a personalized wellness program in that day, in that time. So we call it the Wellness Concierge, and basically it's extraordinarily simple. The chatbot pops up to a staff member. It says, what do you need from me right now? So it's a lot different than what's on the docket this month for the wellness program. It's what do you need from me right now? Do you need to move? Do you need to eat? Do you need to breathe? Or do you need to stretch? Those are their only 4 options. They click on one of those. We say, do you have 1, 2, or 5 minutes? They click on one of those, up pops a video based on their preferences in that moment, in that day, in that time. So they could technically use this chatbot at any time, and we have so many videos circulating for each category that they would rarely get the same video, if ever. So we'd constantly be providing these staff members with different tips on, it's up to the company, a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So we've actually found it to be more popular than just packaging up, a holistic program of, say, 52 videos for 52 weeks and giving it to a company, because now they have access to thousands of videos, on a daily basis.
The other thing I'm curious about is the cafe in an office has been the centerpiece for a lot of organizations in terms of the social interaction. And you talk about nutrition, and I'm curious how that's changing when you see food in an office.
It brings back a funny memory, because I remember when we first started out, we were working with a lot of law firms here in downtown DC. And I would personally be coming in for a workshop, to deliver a workshop. And they would cart in, sodas, and then they would cart in platters of really not super healthy food. And I was like, there is some sort of disconnect here between whoever hired me to come in and whoever's providing the lunch. Clearly we're both vendors that aren't on the same page, but what you'll see now is choices in my perspective, and what I've seen throughout different office buildings is give the tenants, give the staff members choices, and then our job is to inform them on what are the right choices. If these are your goals, here are the choices you probably should make. Now it's up to you to go and make them. So what you'll see in cafes, you may still have some unhealthy choices, but you're going to see more waters, you're going to see more electrolyte waters, you're going to see more vegetable options, you're going to see less fried food, or at least more healthy, healthier options. So I think it's just giving staff choices, and that's what you see a lot more now.
With the hybrid and remote work, I'm curious how the fitness sort of programs extend, geographically.
Everybody learned how to use Zoom. Everybody learned how to use Teams and Slack and GoToWebinar and all the different communication channels so well that it's pretty simple to, even if we're offering a program on site, if it's a class or a stretching workshop, most organizations have the ability to also live stream it to their remote staff. But that's where that on-demand pillar comes into play. That's the third pillar of our programs is you can offer something live, but always record it. So that not only for those people who missed it in the first place, but for those people who aren't able to attend, you gotta have that offering. And HR directors love our programs for that reason, is that their job is to provide a wellness program for everybody. So you have all these people on site, you have all these people who work from home. So our programs being fast, holistic, on demand, they cover all the bases, and so that's where it's attractive. It's also the ease of the programs. The ease of implementing wellness programs has changed for the better because of these hybrid programs. So now, you can essentially copy and paste a wellness program, into Slack, into Teams, into an all-staff email, and the HR is like, wow, that was way easier than organizing my whole organization to get to a conference room. So
yeah, I'm wondering, how do people get their members engaged and get them to use these programs? Because I feel like there's always got to be some incentive for that.
We've tried to stay away from incentive-based programs and let the company figure that out, because it's very different organization to organization on what drives people to use the wellness program. We do work with organizations that get a $500 stipend at the end of the year if they go to 4 wellness coaching sessions, 1 each quarter. We do have companies that if we give them 52 breaks for the year, they'll actually count how many each staff member's been to and reward them based off that number. So there are incentive-based programs. What I think we're seeing change, though, is with the new generation of workforce, people want to get healthier. People want to take care of themselves. In my mind, it's like I see my parents and my grandparents' generations, and they're not where I want to be, is what I'll say when I'm that age. And I see our generation and my generation, even the younger generation, taking better care of themselves from the get-go. And I think that's what you see in organizations too, is that you don't have to necessarily incentivize, but offering a free class is a great incentive.
Well, I think that productivity is always something that an organization is concerned about, and I think healthier people tend to be much more productive. And so I think there's probably been a shift, not only in the level of awareness, but in the types of programs that are offered.
Yeah, our brains work at the highest capacity right after exercise. Within like an hour after exercise, your endorphins are firing, your brain is firing more than it ever has, or more than it ever will throughout the rest of the day. There's an awareness around the impact of fitness, the impact of taking 5 minutes out of your day to stretch, or 2 minutes out of your day to just close your eyes and breathe, and how our whole programs are based off how little time it takes to make an impact on not only an individual with simple, interactive tips, but ultimately throughout the organization with things like our Chatbot and our Concierge programs.
I'm thinking, for an organization that's trying to get health programs started, what recommendations or suggestions would you have for them?
Every organization is so unique, and that's something we've really figured out throughout. We work with companies that are 20 staff, we work with companies that are 10,000 staff. So it's hard to give you a specific answer, but creating, I guess it always just comes back to what our pillars are, in that offering things that are nice and quick, 1 to 5 minutes, interactive, see how that plays off, offering all holistic model, offering all 4 aspects of wellness, and then making them live, but also recording them. And we truly believe that's what's a definite starter plan to get participation up, because that was the whole reason we created these programs. Was when we were on site, we just weren't seeing that participation that we believed we wanted to see, the CEO wanted to see. So we knocked down those barriers with our 3 pillars, is make it accessible and make it easy.
Do you see a big difference in level of participation when leadership gets behind it and participates and supports the program?
That's something that hasn't changed since 2011. The sort of top-down approach in participation. If your CEO or your C-suite or your executive director is working out with you, more people will attend that. Again, like I said, that vulnerability that everyone feels in a fitness class or in a yoga class, sweating with their colleagues, it brings you closer. It creates a better culture, and creates engagement between the upper level management and staff members. And I don't know if you can measure the impact that has on an organization, because all of a sudden that staff member that was out of touch with their CEO is now willing, wanting to work and wanting to be more productive, because they're just engaging with them on an everyday basis or on a weekly basis. So
I think we've covered a lot in this conversation. Is there anything that we've left out that's important to highlight?
I think the other factor of successful wellness programs is, and I mentioned it a little bit, but you want to make it as simple as possible, or I want to make it as simple as possible for whoever's in charge of getting the wellness program out to the staff members. I want to make that job easy. I don't want to be a burden. We understand that wellness is not necessarily the top priority of an organization. So creating the communications for HR, for whoever's in charge, and making their lives easier, that would be sort of that fourth pillar, is fast, holistic, on demand, and easy to implement. So that's kind of been our model, and it's been working pretty well.
Brendan, this has been a great conversation, and I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. And I'm feeling a little guilty sitting here that we should probably go work out.
Let's do it. I got all the time in the world, Bob. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, well, thank you. This has been great.
Of course, anytime.